Everybody, this is Bo. We're back at the Z Lounge again. Listen, we want to say hello to everybody from coast to coast, to sea to shining sea, to the folks in Australia, back out to Southeast Asia. We want to say hello to Austria, little Missy. She's a power lifter, mixed martial art. She's recovering from a knee injury, so we hope it's going well. Back again to Europe, and those folks who are yammering about soccer. We are going to try to get soccer on. Back to New Jersey, where Taylor Rosa, one of the mixed martial arts sensations in this world, is doing a wonderful job maintaining that belt of hers, to Detroit, where we saw one of the greatest fourth quarters in NFL history. And you know what? We're going to head over to Texas, and we're going to talk about the ugly, the bad, and the good. The ugly is we're talking football, volleyball, mixed martial arts, hockey, and even bowling. And right now, I'm a big basketball guy, and I don't hear any basketball out there very much. So the good is we're going to start talking about basketball right now because it's getting ready for the season. And bad, they haven't hit the hardwoods yet in real full practices. So we went down to Sam Houston State University to talk to one of the best coaches down there they got, Brenda Welch-Nichols. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, real good. We're just trying to get that line out. That's something the guys here worked on. I wasn't sure if it came out too smooth.
Oh, it came out great. It came out great. That little howdy in there.
Yeah, you got to say howdy. That's one thing. I was down in North Carolina, and I always said howdy when I was in Detroit. Doesn't quite work very well, except when you're in the South. It's just a great, little statement of saying hello, how you doing?
Yep, that and y'all. How y'all doing?
That's right. I love those. I just love it. I think that's like the friendliest way of saying hello.
It is.
Well, listen, before we get into like the BearKats and what you're doing there, you personally, as a basketball player, to say you were sensational at your level is an understatement. Averaging 17 points, I mean, that's pretty phenom right there.
Yes, sir, it is. I just worked hard, that's all. Back then, you didn't ask questions. You just played, and you just ran through the walls.
And what kind of walls were going on for you down there?
Say that again?
What kind of walls did you have to fire up to get through for yourself?
Oh, man, we had to fire up everything. Just back in the day when you played there, you just went to class, you went to school, you did what you had to do, you got back on the hardwood and you just played and you just had a lot of fun, and there wasn't a lot of outside distractions or anything. It was a lot of fun, and it's a great situation as a college player. And then for me right now, I get to come back to where I played.
And see, that's the part I was going to hit on. It's got to be kind of cool to have a college career as you did and then maintain it so you can say did, do, and currently all in the same statement.
It is. It's wonderful when I tell them to line up on the line and tell them I understand where they're coming from, because I ran those lines, I ran the bleachers, I bled on that court, and I sat where they sit.
And the thing, too, about basketball is you don't realize that there are programs out there who don't work on the fundamentals of basketball. So when you're involved in a program, you think everybody else is doing what you're doing. It's not quite the case in a lot of stories. From when I was a coach and a player, players running out of gas, players not fundamentally working on their shots, and players really not having the discipline to play a game like basketball.
Right. And the biggest thing that we've been focusing on, and ever since I started coaching, I had the old school coaches. Back in West Texas, I played at a junior college, and I had Kelly Chadwick, and to me, he was the women's Bobby Knight. And his big thing was we had to do the fundamentals, and we worked on them every day. The ball handling, the things that you wouldn't think that you should be doing, not just going out and shooting. We did the behind the scenes. And as I moved into Division I from junior college, coming into Division I played for my junior college's son, Royce Chadwick, who's at Marshall now. And he just kept that and instilled that in us. And even today, we open up every day of practice. We do the fundamentals. We do the ball handling, the right hand, the left hand, the spider, the popcorn. We do it all, the figure eight. And my players, they probably look at me like, God, this is like camp, But I just feel like it's so important. If we can keep up the fundamentals, we're going to be okay in the ball game, and that will not be one of our biggest weaknesses. That and conditioning. I think, you have to be in condition to be able to play this game today. It is a up and running game. It's not setting up the plays. We still are playing below the rim, but we got to be in condition to be able to go that full game and extra. I mean, I don't know how many games I've coached that we've had to go into overtime, and just the conditioning, the mental toughness is probably the biggest thing.
And I think you speak volumes right there to a lot of us out there as far as your old school background. Is the biggest thing for me to start following women's athletics is my two sisters were really good at basketball, to say the very least. And they were better than I was, and I enjoyed watching the heck out of them. But when I got older, I never really followed girls basketball except for the tournament, and I was just an average fan. But as my daughter started playing basketball, and I noticed how the guys were just grilled to death, and then the coaches were kind of handling the ladies like they were little princesses, not handling them like athletes. I was kind of offended that the coach didn't have the same fervor and the same intellect as some of the guy coaches, so I was kind of put off. I got involved, and I could not believe how many parents were giving me a hard time about running drills. Why are you running drills like this for? The other coach never did. And I think there's still that level of growth where parents do sometimes have little barriers between their sons and daughters. My daughter, I trained just like if it was my guys' team, run up and down, fundamentals. So when you talk fundamentals, I love the fact when I hear it because you're teaching what basketball is about. Yeah, the slam dunk's good, behind-the-back pass is good, but you've got to have the funnels to support the ability to do all that, and it sounds like you're developing it there.
Well, thank you. You know, the biggest thing with women's basketball, we're not going to, you know, we got a few in the women's game that can dunk and that could put on a good show, and, you know, but we are still playing below the rim. We got to make it look entertaining. We are an entertaining group. You know, you want to sell the families. You want to sell those type of people to come into the stands and watch you. So you still have to put on a show. And you know, I tell my players every day: you go out, you work hard, you do the right things, make those plays happen, get up and down the court and hustle. People will come back and see you every day, and it's the big and that's the biggest turnaround. And I have two sons. I know what you're talking about. I have a 14-year-old son, a 6-year-old, and a 23-month-old little girl. And I'm going to teach her no different than the way I push the boys. That they got to be rough and tough, but you know, my JUCO coach told me all the time, Coach Chadwick always used to say, "You're a lady off the court and on the court." Well, you know what we're trying to say. We don't want to say it on the radio, but you got to get after it. I mean, you got to play like you're mean business out there.
Yeah, and I think it's basketball the last 7-8 years. I'm not sure 10 years, but this last 7-8 years, you've really seen a change in women's athletics. As far as coaching, as far as players, the athleticism, the TV focus, the media, it doesn't seem as I'm trying to think of the right word, but they're now picking up on the women's game a little more detail. It still has a long, long way to go to show the proper respect for all the effort you put into it, as well as what the ladies have put into it. But it's changing, especially with the WNBA.
Oh, I think women's athletic has changed, tremendously. We're still half full, half empty, as though we say. But the older coaches, the coaches that have led the way for us, the Pat Summits, the Andy Landers, and all these coaches that have fought for all the little things, and it surely has made our job a lot easier as younger coaches moving up in the ranks, and just the NCAA and them backing the women and getting a little bit more involved, WNBA, the ABL, and the Olympics being held in Atlanta. That was a huge turning point for women's basketball. Just the way they came out, they operated, people got excited about it, and, we draw a pretty good crowd, and the little girls all like to see the role models because we're not just playing basketball. We are making it a dream for these younger kids to come up and want to be like us.
Absolutely, and I think that's the biggest thing is that when you have it on TV, when you start talking about women's basketball, well, I'm going to back up a little bit. When I was playing high school ball, we were always dogging the ladies' team, the girls' team. So our coach and the ladies' varsity coach asked us to step to the line for foul shooting.